All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Jacob Lee. I'm the head of our SASE sales group within Checkpoint. Was formerly with the Odo security team as head of their sales prior to the acquisition. So I appreciate everyone joining today. Let me start with sharing out a few slides to talk about the agenda. All right. So today we're going to cover Checkpoint's SASE or Secure Access Service Edge solution, primarily our Zero Trust Network Access or ZTNA offering, which was the Odo acquisition. As far as agenda goes, from a partner perspective, we're going to cover a number of things. And me being a salesperson, I think probably the best way to look at it is framing the prop for your customers, right? Understanding how you can position this, how you can message this, and kind of narrate this solution to your customers. We'll do a quick live demonstration so you can see the product. One of the selling points of our solution is that we are modern SaaS-based offerings, so it's as a service versus traditional hardware-based secure remote access type solutions. And then we'll cover some qualifying and scoping questions. So how do you qualify? How do you scope an opportunity? What sort of questions would you ask your customers in regards to identifying new opportunities and to see if our solution could be a good fit to solve some of their challenges today? We'll talk a bit about sales process best practices, primarily around the initial discovery call through the demo, through the POC, and what a structured process for us looks like. And the point of this isn't to tell you how to run a sales process. It's more along the lines of providing best practices that we've seen in regards to selling our product and getting customers the value of the solution as they go through a trial or a POC. And then finally, we'll provide some data on our who to contact. And that also includes some data on how to order, right? Our SKUs and our pricing, et cetera. So as we go through the webinar, we can stop for questions. Ariel, feel free to ping me or jump in if we have anything urgent around that, and we'll go from there. Okay, so to get started, I think we all can agree and we all know that enterprise remote access needs are evolving. There's a number of disruptive trends that we've seen that are really driving the evolution of customers looking for a new approach to remote access, right? We all know the pandemic story is pretty prevalent, and we don't like to focus too much on this at this point because I think most customers kind of had a band-aid approach or a stopgap approach to provide at least connection and access for their employees now working remotely. However, what we have seen is a lot of enterprises, both small to large, are struggling with their existing solutions, right? These are kind of a band-aid approach. And a number of them are struggling with scalability issues, security issues, or user experience needs or user experience problems, right? So if you take a look at what most customers are doing today, using a VPN, VPNs really weren't built or really weren't meant for every employee. They're really built for a subset of employees to do their job remotely, whether it was an executive traveling or maybe some business units that work from home part-time or contractors or even sales folks who were traveling to customer sites. So that's led to scalability issues for a lot of companies, having all those users on the network at one time. From a security perspective, we've seen if you allow that level of access to everyone, it's pretty hard to really implement fine-grained or granular access controls for these users. In addition, a lot of these users are accessing your internal resources from a variety of devices. They could be BYOD devices, they could be corporate managed devices, they could be third-party contractors where you have no idea what their device actually is. And then finally, from a user experience perspective, what we've heard from our customers is that customers today are really used to that cloud-like experience when connecting and accessing their applications. And they want a solution that can provide that same level of experience. So connecting directly to an application or connecting directly to a web-based portal that'll allow them to access their applications without spinning up their VPN, et cetera. So those are all challenges we've seen. And then the final two here, which are big driving points for a lot of our customers, are on the left, starting with third parties. we've seen collaboration really increase over the last few years. Enterprises are collaborating a lot from a B2B perspective with suppliers, contractors, vendors, other technology partners sharing APIs, et cetera. And they're exposing internal resources. And these internal resources can hold sensitive PII data, it could hold sensitive IP, and they really want a better way to control who has access to these resources and adopt the zero trust model where you're reducing your attack surface significantly. And then finally here, cloud migration is certainly a big initiative for a lot of companies for a number of reasons, including cost savings, agility as well. And enterprises need a modern solution to connect to these resources, whether it's a new business application hosted in AWS or DevOps applications like Jira. And that's another, I would say, key driver, key value driver we've seen in the field. So this is a great quote, and this came out a few years ago in one of Gartner's write-ups. But they claim by 2023, 60% of enterprises will adopt this new approach called ZTNA, or Zero Trust Network Access. And while doing so, more than likely they'll phase out most of their traditional virtual private networks or VPNs for remote access. So this came out pre-pandemic. It was relatively prophetic, I'd say, from Gartner, but we have seen mass adoption for this. So we have seen a lot of really driving towards this new approach for ZTNA. So we've highlighted the challenges, we've highlighted some of the data we've heard from our customers in regards to what to look for a new approach to secure remote access. And really the feedback we got was that they want a solution that can connect anyone from any device, can scale automatically, it's not hardware bound, provides zero trust security. Zero trust is really a fundamental shift in the security architecture for a lot of organizations. And that really means a least privilege access model, never trust, always verify, and also full monitoring in regards to what users are doing on the network. They want a solution that's user-friendly, can be deployed quickly for a rapid value, and can adapt to their modern environments. And that is the CloudGuard corporate access solution from Checkpoint, previously Odo. So we provide a modern zero trust network access service. It's a software as a service platform, providing clientless connection from any device. So really you just pop open your computer, whether you're on a corporate managed device like me, or you could be a contractor using BYOD, enter in a URL, authenticate with your preferred IDP, and you get a nice dashboard, what you're seeing right here, with only the resources you're approved for based on the roles and groups within your IDP. The key value here is that we're also connecting at layer 7. So we're providing application access versus network access. So what that means is we're reducing the attack surface significantly. We're only allowing users to know or access resources that they're approved for. So any other resources really dark to the users. We're also shielding these applications from the internet. And we'll talk through how our architecture works in a minute to explain how that we facilitate that. And then, as I mentioned, it's a cloud scalable solution, but really it's a quick time to value. We can allow companies get up and running very quick with our modern approach here. So from a management perspective, I would say this is one of our key value props as well for our customers as far as selling the value of our solution. Because we're a clientless architecture, we can connect to a number of different protocols very seamlessly. This is also one of our competitive differentiators as well in the zero trust network access realm. So we support web applications or HTTPS from your browser, RDP connecting to remote desktops. We even support SSH for connecting to, for instance, Linux servers in AWS and databases. And we have a unique approach there where we actually provide privilege access management for these users to connect to some of these resources. So if you're connecting to, say, an RDP remotely or some servers in your data center or in AWS via SSH, we can provide capabilities such as vaulting credentials and session recordings to provide full visibility or auditability into what users are doing. And that leads us into the next tab here, which, because we provide this full audit trail, we can integrate with the customer's existing SIM tools as well. So if they want real-time analysis in regards to what users are accessing, At the application layer and not just the network layer, we provide all that data seamlessly in our NICE console. And because we're connecting at layer 7, we're providing least privilege access to these resources. And an added bonus here is part of the checkpoint DNA. We're providing application level threat prevention. So we're protecting the applications with both IPS and WAF and API level security as well. Now, in regards to use cases, and I would say this is probably one of the most important slides here. When you're thinking about introducing a new solution to a customer, really focusing on what can we solve for you, right? I think a lot of customers are relatively hesitant to come in and say, hey, we want to rip and replace our entire remote access solution today, and we want to adopt a product for everything. A lot of them usually start somewhere. And this somewhere for us, what we've heard for feedback from our customers includes an alternative to a VPN. And this could be a departmental use case. It could be, say, developers that need to access resources in the cloud and they want a cloud-based SaaS solution that can provide that level of granular control for their VPCs. Or it could be, for instance, third-party users. So third-party folks, B2B contractors, suppliers, vendors that need to access their internal systems could be a good starting point as well, due to the nature of how they connect. And because we're clientless, that's also a good value prop where they may not want your company's client on their personal owned device. And then finally here, the developer access use case is great because we have some unique differentiators there around auto discovery for cloud resources. So for customers that have dynamic public cloud environments where resources are spun up or down, we can tag certain groups or certain users and use those tags to assign them to a particular resource directly in our platform. So we can provide the agility customers want for cloud environments. So this is a great starting point, I'd say, for ZTNA. And if you're looking at identifying initial use cases for your customers. Now, why checkpoint? So zero trust is a relatively noisy market right now. There are a number of companies out there claiming to do different aspects of the zero trust spectrum. The remote access sector is really one of the more popular areas for zero trust today. We think we've got a great best of breed solution here because we provide the most protocol support. And when we're saying the most protocol support, what that really boils down to is that whether you're a business unit user, as you can see on the right-hand side, this gentleman with the tie who may need to access, say, a web application like an internal wiki or maybe a finance application, or you're an engineering team, for instance, a DevOps user who needs to access servers in the cloud in a multi-cloud environment, or for instance, you're a customer support person that needs to access a remote desktop or a third-party contractor. We provide protocol support for all of these different connections to make sure all of these different users can access the resources that they need to, both seamlessly and securely. In doing that, we've seen a lot of value from our existing customers where we're able to reduce their remote access or privilege access stack, simplify things greatly, and eliminate the need for things like VPNs, bastion hosts, or even legacy PAM type products if it's for server access or SSH management. Here's a quick snapshot of our visibility capabilities, and I'll show this in a live demo in a second here. But when you're talking about zero trust, you're talking about limiting what users can access and really focusing on an identity-centric model. And you're talking about understanding what users are doing when they're on their system. So we provide full logging for all of these users. So anything a user does, for instance, if it's a web application, any get or post within that application, or for RDP and SSH sessions, we can actually provide a recorded screen of the user's desktop to fully understand everything they've done in that session as well. And that can be stored in our platform, or you can export it to like an S3 bucket as well for long-term storage. Okay, so we talked a bit about use cases. We've talked a bit about the value prop. This is our architecture. So this is the CloudGuard corporate access, formerly known as Odo platform. From a user perspective, what you see on the left is a user would enter their credentials. This could be in Okta or in Azure AD or in Ping or OneLogin, and they would get a nice dashboard with just the resources they're approved for, that they would usually use a VPN to access these resources with. Now, behind the scenes, what's actually happening is after the user authenticates with their preferred IDP, and multi-factor authentication could be part of that flow as well, strong authentication. Our controller or our control plane integrates with the ITP, makes sure the user is authenticated, and it'll understand what roles and groups they're associated with, which will then communicate with our gateway. Our gateway are a number of identity-aware and protocol-aware proxies for web applications, RDP, SSH, database as well. And our gateway will then open an end-to-end mutual TLS connection, encrypted tunnel, from the user to the internal connection. So all of this is done behind the scenes. As far as setup, there's not much to do except defining the roles and groups or connecting with the customer's preferred identity provider to sync those roles and groups within our platform. And it's all SaaS-based, so it's an easy administrative console. The only part that would need to be installed in the user's environment is what's called our connector. So our connector is not an agent, so you would not need to install them on, say, every target application or every host or every resource. Our connector is really you would probably install 2 for HA, but it's an outbound only connection to our gateway on port 444. So it's simple maintenance, takes about 15 minutes to set up the solution from end to end. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the Zero Trust Network Access piece, which is a fundamental component of the Secure Access Service Edge or SASE platform. I'm going to go through just a few quick slides here to explain what we offer from a holistic perspective as customers go through the journey of exploring Zero Trust and also SASE as well. So on the left-hand side, you see corporate network, data center, and IaaS or infrastructure as a service, remote users. This would be our secure remote access solution here, right? This would be the ZTNA capabilities. So remote users who need to connect to internal resources wherever they are securely based on a number of contextual factors. This is the solution that we offer here. Now, when we're talking about branches or users that need to access the internet securely or SaaS security, so for instance, like Office 365, we also offer capabilities there with our secure web gateway solution that includes things like DLP, firewall as a service, sandboxing files, et cetera, URL filtering as well. And what you're seeing in the center is our cloud. So this is the Checkpoint CloudGuard Connect cloud, or our SASE cloud, which is essentially proxying the traffic and providing that secure connection for users to connect to internal resources or even cloud resources or SaaS applications or the internet securely. So this is delivered via the cloud from multiple points of presence throughout the world. And it's really broken out into 4 different pieces here. From the corporate access side or the secure remote access sector, you've got ZTNA, VPN. We're coming out with some nice device compliance and posture capabilities in the next quarter, and also privilege access. For email and office security, connecting to your email Office 365 securely, sandboxing files, inspecting files for malicious content, protecting your APIs, phishing protection, data loss protection, sandboxing, et cetera. And then for the internet, the secure web gateway. So URL filtering, protecting what users can access when they're on the internet, DLP, browser protection as well. And for branch offices, if you're looking at adopting SASE from the network vision, deploying SD-WAN solutions or SD-WAN integration, we integrate with all of the major SD-WAN vendors out there today to provide a secure connection for those users and for their branch offices. So this is all delivered, as I mentioned, via global points of presence throughout the world. We have over 100 today with 5 nines uptime SLAs as part of our solution, high performance, and providing WAN acceleration and optimization for SD-WAN projects. Okay, so now I'm going to jump into a demo and show you what the product actually looks like. Okay, so I just shared out my screen, and what you're seeing here is the CloudGuard Corporate Access Portal. What would happen after a user authenticates, whether they're using ADFS, AD, Okta, OneLogin, Ping, is they would get this nice, simple portal. The URL would be tied to the actual customer. So say, for instance, if you're working with Coca-Cola, it would be coca-cola.checkpoint.com. Very easy to remember. And you'll see a nice dashboard with only the resources the customer is approved for. So this would be the applications, the servers, or the databases. And what we've done is we've broken it out at the top by the various protocols we support. So for web applications, we have this tab, if you want to filter easily. For RDP, connecting to Windows Server, SSH, and database. Now to start, let's take a look at connecting to an internal wiki. Anyone that's worked at a big company knows wikis are a thing. You really can't avoid them, and really they provide a great solution to share information and kind of a great hub or starting point for users when you're connecting to your internal network. And usually you're using a VPN to connect to this particular application. So for me, connecting to this wiki, I'm in. You can see I'm connected to Checkpoint's internal wiki page here, and you see at the top, I'm not actually exposing the internal address to the end user. So I just connected to this internal resource seamlessly via portal at layer 7, and anything I do within that application will be recorded, and I'll show how that looks in a minute. The other protocols we support include RDP. This is a pain point for a lot of users who may be deploying heavy VDI solutions or may be challenged with managing large-scale RDP deployments for a number of reasons. We provide a nice, seamless solution here for connecting to your remote desktop, which includes the full functionality of this remote desktop. So really anything you would do in this RDP session and a traditional RDP session is included within our platform. No agents here, nothing to install on the target systems. Very seamless approach. And you can see as well that internal server address is not exposed to the end user as well. It's all cloaked or it's hidden behind our proxies. So we've covered web applications. So I connected to that wiki, right, without a VPN. We've connected to an RDP session without a VPN, without a bastion host, very seamlessly. It's still open here. Now, if we're talking about SSH access, this is a great differentiator for Checkpoint as well. So SSH has a number of challenges for it. For large organizations, key management is a problem. A lot of these users may share keys. These could be static keys to privileged internal systems that are really running the infrastructure for the organization. And what we've done is we've come out with a modern, lightweight privilege access approach as part of our zero trust solution. So for instance, say I'm an end user connecting to SSH, we have two options, either a one-time password, which is a short-lived one-time token, or private key authentication. And keep in mind, all of this can be done via the terminal, because I know a lot of DevOps-centric folks aren't really into user interfaces or UIs. And the two options here, including our private key authentication, include the ability to vault the static or the privileged SSH keys in our vault. We've embedded an industry-leading vault from HashiCorp into our product. And then the end user, when they needed to access these internal systems, would have a Checkpoint-generated key, not the actual server key, that would be tied to the user's identity, roles, and groups based on their preferred IDP. So anything they do within the system will also be logged via screen recording as well. And if they do not have an active session as part of their IDP, they wouldn't be able to get access to those privileged, that privileged infrastructure. So it's a nice, lightweight, clientless solution for SSH key management and connecting to these privileged systems based on an identity-centric zero trust solution. The final one here would be database. So we support a number of the modern databases available today, such as Postgres and MySQL, including the ability to provide view-only, read-only, or admin-type privileges for that database as well. So these are the main protocols we support. If we're going to go and look at the admin perspective, so this is what a user would see. From an admin, we have a nice console here with a number of things going on, including a worldwide view of the sites and connectors and different applications deployed, including how they're broken into the different protocols here. And if we look at the top left screen, as far as adding new applications, it's very simple. You would just click on add an application. You would enter the different protocol. Simple name here. We can do an internal address. Define whether it's HTTP or HTTPS. Connect to an application site. Launch the application. And you can edit permissions by including the different groups that are already defined within the application, which either could come from your preferred identity provider, or it could come from setting up these groups directly or natively within the platform here. And that's it. Very simple, very easy to do. It takes about 5 minutes to set up a number of new applications. Now, when we're looking at groups and users, as far as user management, there's two concepts here. You have your user, for instance, this gentleman, Aaron, he is associated with these particular applications. You can have general details in the last time you logged in. And you can see that this user is tied to the Okta IDP. So his identity is Okta here, right? And all these different users are. This is what we use for our current demo system. Now, as far as groups, you can see the administrator group. We've got all of these different users in here. We have a nice ability to provide data on what applications the administrator group is tied to right here. So we see an RDP application and a few different web applications as well. And then from a visibility perspective, if we're looking at, let's say, that internal wiki that I accessed earlier during our conversation today, if I view the session, you can see the gets. So I just clicked on this application. So you can store all this data within our platform. So all those web logs. And then if we're looking at an RDP system, we can see a live connection here on what a user did when they were in this RDP session. So what this is a live video. So everything a user did can be stored. It can be archived. It can be exported to your S3 type bucket for long-term storage for visibility purposes. So a lot of great data here and a very seamless approach to zero trust network access with very little effort and setup required for end users. Okay, let's see. Okay, all right, so let's go back to the slides. Let's talk a little bit about qualification, and let's talk a little bit about target customers, sales process as well. And I saw there was a question or request for some data, more kind of on the marketing side, I think that we can share around explaining the value of zero trust network access, maybe for customers that are still using VPNs or kind of going down that route. So we'd be happy to get some sort of information over to you on that you can share. Okay, so we covered the demo today. We've covered a little bit about our SASE solution here. Let's talk a little bit about the value for partners in how we can help you guys provide value to your customers and also help you increase revenue. All right. So we talked through this already. We provide a zero trust clientless solution, easy management. It's a cloud-based service. We have a unique application level protection because it's in our DNA as part of being Checkpoint with complete visibility and control. Now, when you're thinking about value and how can you adopt this solution to bring to your customers to increase revenue, increase customer satisfaction, really be relevant in these new conversations around zero trust or SASE, which are really taking off this year in real world implementations. Starting at the top, because we're a SaaS portfolio, we can help you provide new ARR, right? It's not traditional licensing. This is a SaaS-based solution. It's very easy to sell. As far as the user licensing model, it's by users. So as far as scoping out these deals, it's very simple as well. Very timely offering too. I would say, based on my experience, a majority of enterprises, both on the security side and the network side, are absolutely exploring zero trust and SASE today. Some are further along than others. Some are in RFP stages and have really already identified their requirements, and some are a little bit earlier in planning on implementations in Q4. But I would say the time is now to bring this up with customers to be relevant and to be part of those challenges, or sorry, of those projects or those deals. A lot of these deals already have budgeted money too, so they have budgeted line items from initiating projects from last year, and they're looking at implementing this year. So zero trust security has been around for the last few years, and I would say in regards to where the maturity curve is, a lot of companies are really starting that implementation or that spend phase right now. We can offer a quick POC evaluation. So for our partners, anyone that's interested, we'd be happy to set you up with a demo account. As you can see, it looks relatively easy to demo. I don't have a deep technical background. I've been in sales for the last 17 years, and I can clearly explain the value to customers. So I think it's something that can be adopted easily, and it's something that you guys can really, I think, help accelerate revenue because it is an easy to use and sell solution. And as I discussed, the pricing model is very, very easy as well because it's user-based. Okay, so from a customer value perspective, and I'd be happy to share these slides too, post-call. We can help enable business continuity. So if you're thinking about messaging, how can this solution add value to a customer who is probably getting hit up 50 plus times a day from various vendors about different topics? I would say this is top of mind type value. So enabling business continuity, preventing any VPN related outages, support tickets, and easily deploy remote access from any location or device. So that could be CIO, CTO type level, enhancing security for the CISO or security architect, who are more than likely researching zero trust today. So implementing a zero trust model to reduce the attack surface and risk of a breach, reducing operational costs. So because we provide that ease of use based on being a SaaS solution, we have very low maintenance, we require no hardware, and we can provide a very quick time to value, and then increasing agility as well. So say one of your customers is going through an M&A initiative and they're acquiring a new company, and they need to bring this company on board to get access to their internal resources quickly so their employees can be productive. There's many different options you can do there, including VPNs, site-to-site VPNs, different type PAM solutions that could take weeks or months to deploy, or shipping hardware. We can do this very quickly and get them set up in minutes. Now, as far as competitive differentiators, we've gone through the solution today. I've kind of given a high-level demo. As I mentioned, we're a clientless solution, meaning there's nothing that needs to be installed on the endpoint. We are SaaS-based, as I mentioned, so low TCO and operational overhead. There's no controllers, there's no gateways, there's no agents that need to be installed in a customer's on-prem environment. We do support the most protocols. So most of our competitors are primarily focused on web access, but our unique RDP, SSH, and database zero trust access are unique competitive differentiators. Our logging and session recording, credential vaulting or PAM, and auto discovery are also key competitive differentiators. Now, as far as qualification goes, when you're thinking about outreach or bringing this to market within your customer base or prospective customer base, I would say starting at 100 employees and up is a good way to look at things. up to large global enterprises. I wouldn't say it's necessarily vertical specific. I would say most verticals are adopting zero trust. Some are a little bit more risk adverse than others, for instance, healthcare and finance, but we're seeing a lot of adoption across the board for these different global enterprises. As far as decision makers and evaluators, meaning who you would sell to, are key buyers. Obviously, C-level is great, CISO, CIO, or CTO, who could really understand the vision and the value prop. On the IT security realm here, security architects, I would say, are really great resource to go to, who have an excellent idea of plans, existing solutions, and ideas around innovation when they're looking at deploying new products for remote access. Network folks are great as well if you're looking at talking to a remote access engineer or a network architect who are thinking about SD-WAN or this new SASE or zero trust model, and how can they deploy that to provide higher security and reduce maybe some of their operational expenses compared to more of the legacy VPN type products. And then also traditional IT are great too. Cloud architects are always a good person to speak to when you're trying to figure out remote access. Okay, I would say these are number one drivers or triggers for buying. Starting with business continuity due to COVID-19. Customers are looking at an alternative to the VPN due to outages, slowdowns, et cetera. And that leads us into the scaling issue as well. So their existing VPN is not scaling, and they're looking for more of a modern, low friction, clientless approach. Customers that are going through cloud transformation. So this is a relatively broad topic, but if you speak to this customer on their plans for secure remote access, for moving an on-prem app to the cloud, or adopting more cloud resources in AWS or in Azure, secure remote access is definitely within their plan. So you'd want to identify what they're planning to do today. If they're planning a VPN approach or a PAM type product as well, it would be a good time to insert our solution. I think they'd be impressed. Third-party user access as well is a huge one for us. So contractors, partners, suppliers, and vendors that need access to internal systems. We can provide a very nice, lightweight approach to allow better security and a more seamless solution for these end users. And then the final two, zero trust security projects or SASE adoption. There's kind of a few keywords in the zero trust security space. One of them is called Beyond Corp, which is an architecture, basically a reference type architecture for zero trust that Google came out with a number of years ago after they were breached. But NIST is another one as well. So any folks that are looking at adopting a broad scale zero trust security architecture would certainly be a good entry point as well, and trigger for folks looking at a solution like this. I'll share these slides towards the end here, but these are great questions for identifying new opportunities. Starting with, are you struggling with secure remote access due to the remote worker influx? And then you can kind of go through the list here in regards to identifying certain pain points and getting the customer to share data on some of their challenges so you can position the solution. Migrating business applications to the cloud, collaborating with third parties, and adopting a zero trust security strategy. So all of these are good talking points or good probing questions to identify new opportunities within the customer base. Okay, so the final few parts here is we'll cover the sales process. So for us, we like to align to a relatively standardized sales process just to increase efficiency and the likelihood of wins here. So we start usually with an initial discovery call. This could be 30 or 60 minutes. If you need any resources from the Checkpoint team, feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to lead these calls with you. We'd be happy to support any of our partners during these calls. We'd be happy to do demos, anything needed here, just let us know. But typically during this call, we'll validate what's the business driver. Why are you looking at a zero trust security solution or a SASE solution? So we can really understand the customer's pain points and how to position. We'll try to understand their technical use cases. For instance, is this for web applications in their data center? Is it for RDP connection securely? Is it for servers or DevOps folks who need to access AWS resources, champions, timeline, and really understand who we're competing against? Then we'll move to custom demo. So we'll demo our solution, really focused on showing how we can solve the customer's problem based on the data that we gathered from the initial discovery call. So it could be, for instance, for third parties, and we could talk through that, or it could be for DevOps folks. And then the final part here, which is really important, is POC planning. So what we like to do is set up a call to have a conversation around the objectives and goals of the POC to really document and define the customer's requirements so we track towards success. This would include their specific criteria for testing, who would be involved, and it's always great to understand at the end of the cycle who is the economic buyer, right? After we perform a successful POC, who would need to approve, who actually has signing authority here, and then the rest is really self-explanatory around executing the POC, decision, procurement, etc. So we're happy to support any customer projects, any customer calls, any discovery calls. If there's a request or an initiative to do some training for our partner sales team so they can understand this a little bit more, or even to go through the demo and maybe even do kind of demo setup as well, we'd be happy to do that too. Okay, so as far as pricing goes, I promised that it was simple, and the good news is that it is. It really is priced based on the quantity of users. So if you're working with a large enterprise that has 10,000 users that need to access an internal resource, you would quote it out for 10,000 users. Our SKUs are available for ordering today, so it's all available via your partner portal. Current list is $5 per user per month as well. So we've tried to make this economical and based on what customers require or need for the remote access requirements. Now, as far as context, just to wrap up here, feel free to reach out to me directly. We do have a global team, but I do have a background working with partners for the last 17 years. I prefer working with partners. I really enjoy it. So feel free to reach out to me. If you have any questions, I can connect you with any resource you need, including getting set up with initial demo test systems for your customers, POCs, pricing, qualification, all that good stuff. So I think we may have a question here. One of the questions is, how is the mechanism for application on premises via CloudGuard Connect, how to register for the application servers? So Santiago, that's all based on our connector, which essentially acts as somewhat like a router. It's our own solution with Docker deployed on top of it, where you can easily connect and register the different applications, servers, or databases within a user's environment. So it'll automatically show up within our platform when you install the connector. All right. And any other questions before we wrap today?
Yes, you're getting questions in the Q&A, Jacob.
Yeah, I saw the third one here. So how does this differ than a CASB? So CASB, or Cloud Access Security Brokers, are really for providing inline access, DLP sort of capabilities for SaaS applications. What we're referring to here is Zero Trust Network Access. So this is secure remote access to internal applications. So this would be an application in your data center. It could be a hosted application in your cloud, not necessarily meant for SaaS applications. But we do a number of things here. So we're providing an encrypted end-to-end tunnel to that application. We're proxying that user prior to the application to make sure they're approved and understand what roles and groups they are as part of their identity provider as well. So we provide I would say it's not really in the same sector, but we provide a zero trust network access that is a replacement for legacy remote access solutions. CASBs are really focused on cloud access security. We're saying cloud access security, for the most part, it's SaaS type security. What does Palo offer in this space? I'd suggest Googling it. There's a number of different vendors in the space today. Obviously, Palo Alto Networks is a competitor to Checkpoint. I would say we have a best of breed approach here for zero trust network access. Palo is really focused on their legacy VPN technology and putting it in the cloud and hosting it as a service versus what we're offering here. Excellent. Okay. Well, let's do this. I'd say as next steps, Ariel and Trisha, I can share my slides. We can share them out with the team. And if anyone's interested in further conversation, setting up a demo, or getting a lab in their environment, we'd be happy to do that. And I appreciate everyone's time today.